Hank, welcome into the Blitz. How you doing this morning?
Doing good, Martin. How are you?
Doing well. I saw where you just tweeted out your most recent tweet, I should say. A young man from Atlanta, Georgia, John Fitzpatrick, tight end / defensive end, 6'7", 232 pounds. What's the breakdown on this young man, and how serious are the Tide with this particular offer?
Still learning myself about him. We saw it last night, retweeted it, so we're going to be reaching out to him today. But, they're still full go at getting a tight end in this class. I don't know if we discussed it last week, but Dominique Wood-Anderson, that junior college tight end from Arizona, he seemed like he was the top guy, and he still is a top target. But he appeared like he was just on the verge of committing to Alabama. But then he took a visit to Oregon. Looks like they have the momentum now. So that leaves Alabama still needing a tight end. So they've been offering these big body guys. Like John, this guy last night. There's another guy, Luke Ford, out of Illinois, who's committed to Arkansas. He's another 6'7", kind of 240 frame guy. So they're going to get these guys in camp and see who they like. I've heard great things about this kid they offered last night, so we'll see where it goes. But, yeah, I think the tight end question mark in this class will probably be answered in June or July.
Speaking with Bama Online recruiting analyst Hank South. Hank, we had a conversation, and James Hardy, my producer, asked me a question about Nick Saban. We were talking about him being able to coach for a while and his mental, acumen still being sharp at 65 and doesn't seem to be regressing at all. But he asked me a question about was he the best in terms of his mental acumen in terms of recruiting? And I said, I really don't know what he does in terms of recruiting that convinces these young men. What have you seen? What is it that makes Nick Saban, from the player's standpoint, from the recruit standpoint, what is it that makes them buy into his story? Is it just his candidness, or what is it?
What I hear the most is when we've asked guys this before. We've done interviews where just solely what makes Nick Saban such a great recruiter, and a lot of them say the vision he sets. He's such a good vision setter for telling these guys what's going to happen if they come to Alabama, like what he expects from them. You talk to 99% of these guys, and the conversations with Nick Saban aren't even about football.
Wow.
He tells them about how you come to Alabama, you're going to get your degree, you're just going to be a successful person, and you're going to play football as well. And he's just really good at conveying that vision to these kids, and he wins over the parents with doing that too. So when you win over the parents and win over the kids, you're usually going to land these kids. And so that's what I would say the most is he's just a great vision setter.
Shannon Jordan, who's one of our followers on Facebook Live, we were talking about him convincing Julio, because some people talk about it's because they win, and I was like, no, Julio Jones came when Alabama wasn't winning. But remember the famous quote, "We want you, but we don't need you. We're going to win championships with you or without you." And that kind of sums up the Nick Saban. He's just, I've also heard recruits say, he just tells you the truth. He doesn't promise you anything. And it's such a stark contrast to all the other coaches coming in and telling these 4 and 5 stars, oh, you come to our school, you're going to play right off the bat. You're going to be this and that. And he sells them the overall program. Well, the coaches have been able to be out on the road a little bit since spring ball. What's kind of been Alabama's focus over these last couple weeks?
They've been all over the place. Obviously, there's not a quarterback in the class yet, so they've seen a few guys. Most recently, last week or earlier this week, I guess it was last week, I'm getting my days confused. They saw Trevor Lawrence, who's the number 1 overall player in the country, committed to Clemson. He's looked at by most as the guy that's just not going anywhere. He's staying committed to Clemson. But in a recent interview, he said that Alabama was the only other school he's really hearing from. And he said if he does decide to make a change with his commitment, that they're likely the school he'd call. So we'll see. I mean, you never know. Kids just say things like that. But I think it's interesting. He's looking for a system that's going to develop him into an NFL quarterback. And obviously Brian Dable from the Patriots, a lot of these quarterbacks we've been talking to, that's the first thing they say is he helped coach Tom Brady. So that's the best of the best right there. So they've seen Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, the Penn State commit, another really good quarterback. We have him as a 5-star with 24/7 Sports. He's out in Georgia. He's another guy that's still kind of looking around. He's committed to Penn State, but a handful of schools in there for him. Last night, we posted on Bama Online that Tosh LePoy went out to see Micah Parsons, the 5-star defensive end that was committed to Penn State and then decommitted a few weeks back. And now it's looking like Ohio State might be the favorite. We'll see. He's going to take some summer visits. But this kid's the number one weak side defensive end in the country. He's 6'3", 235. He can play defensive end. He can play linebacker. He can play running back. So just kind of one of those freak athletes. Alabama's going to have to see him twice. So we'll see if they get him on campus this summer and they really make a run for him. He could be a guy that Alabama's definitely in play for.
Yeah, you mentioned that it's really kind of I think as far as quarterbacks are concerned, this fall is going to be almost like a job interview in terms of recruiting because the kid committed to Clemson. I think he's going to be watching how Deshaun Watson does at the next level while he's going to be watching what Daboll does here. And I think a lot of these guys, because if Jalen Hurts, think about this. If Jalen Hurts, you would think it would hurt, but it actually will help Alabama. If Jalen Hurts becomes an efficient passer to above average passer, it's going to actually help Alabama in recruiting because I've heard people say, well, why would another recruit come here? Why would a quarterback come here? Well, if Daboll, who coached Tom Brady, all of a sudden can make Jalen good, and then we know what Tua came here with the ability to do, I think it will help in terms of these quarterbacks.
Oh, absolutely. And we talked to one quarterback in the 2019 class the other night, Grant Gunnell, he's a top 100 player for the next recruiting cycle. He passed for 71 touchdowns last year, so he's a big passer. But we talked to him, he watched the Alabama spring game, and what stood out the most was just them passing. And obviously that stood out to all of us watching it because there's more passing than running. But recruits are taking notice. He's definitely gearing more towards getting these guys to be more efficient passers. And, yeah, like you said, I mean, that's going to pay off in recruiting big time.
All right, I call them kind of the forgotten group because so many guys came in early with 16 guys coming in early. I think the other 10 guys or so from this class have kind of been forgotten, but Ruggs made his presence and reminded Alabama fans that Jerry Jeudy's good and there's some other guys good, but you got some more talent coming. Did you hear about his run, his sprint down at the state track meets, the 10.5?
Yeah, we wrote a quick write-up on that. Yeah, it's pretty insane. Yeah, and it's interesting with Henry Ruggs. Barton Simmons, who's our director of scouting at 24/7 Sports, he's a huge Ruggs guy. As are many people. We actually have him as the number one receiver in the country. He wrote a story the other day that, Jerry Jeudy's really, really good. He's going to have a really good career at Alabama, but he thinks Henry Ruggs, when it's all said and done, is going to have a better career. Same with Devontae Smith. He said he put Henry Ruggs and Devontae Smith as having better careers than Jerry Jeudy. So if you think about that, for defenses in the SEC, having to defend those three for the next 3 or 4 years, I mean, that's not a pretty picture.
Yeah, and
and
that's what I was saying, Hank, is I think we've kind of forgotten about these other 10 guys because they don't come in early. And sometimes I think as fans, we think early enrollment means, these are the more elite athletes. These are the better recruits. And I think there's a handful of guys that's yet to step on this campus. And you just mentioned two of them. I think Smith and Ruggs are going to find themselves on the field. And I've watched a little bit of film on Ruggs. To me, he reminds me of a guy I played with named David Palmer, but with a whole lot more speed. David was quick, but Ruggs is quick and, as they say, fleet of foot. So when you look at these guys, 10 guys not enrolled, or I say 10 guys, it's a little more than that, but the guys not on campus yet, 16 guys on campus already. Rule change finally official. They're going to have an early signing period. You and I have talked about this. They could already sign financial aid agreement. They're already enrolling early. Will this really have any impact on the guys as far as the recruits, or will it just kind of hurt the Nick Sabans of the world because it may prevent them from being able to close late on guys that's still making decisions?
It's a good question. I think we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, I think you can look at it both ways. I mean, you can get guys locked up so you can focus on other guys that you want to put in the class, or you have to, like you said, you can't do those late evaluations. So I think you can go both ways. I don't think it's going to change too much. I think these big guys that Alabama's trying to close late on, or like the big name guys, I think they're still going to wait. These kids love recruiting. Most of them do. They like to kind of take it to that last minute. I actually asked all the commitments thus far if they're going to sign early for Alabama. They're not sure yet. They're still talking about it with their parents. But, I mean, we'll see for the first year. But I don't think it's going to change too much. I think kids are going to kind of see what other kids do, and I think that might create kind of just some – I don't think it'll be too big of a deal the first year. But once they kind of get used to it. But, yeah, it's going to change up the whole recruiting calendar. They're going to have to – staffs are going to have to go harder in December when they get on the road. They're going to have to take these official visits in the fall a lot more seriously. Whereas when they have kids on campus for official visits during the season, they can't really. I mean, they pay attention to them obviously, but there's only so much they can do when they have the game going on as well. So it's definitely going to change that aspect of it all. But we'll see. I don't think it's going to change too much the first year at least, though. Speaking with
Hank South, 24/7 Sports Bama Online recruiting analyst, I want to ask you one follow-up question to that. Really, what's in terms of appearance, it doesn't appear to be a lot of difference in early enrollee versus signing period. Logistically, what's the difference? I mean, Alabama had 16 guys who were ready to come when we started in January. So if this had been an option, would those 16 guys not have already been signed anyway?
Oh, no. I mean, I think they definitely would have. So, I mean, it kind of just depends on – I think Alabama's 16 early enrollees this year was kind of a – I don't think that's going to happen too often. Yeah. Especially, I mean, there's not always enough room either with that kind of thing. I think you usually can expect 7 to 9 is a big number typically. So, but, yeah, I mean, I would assume all of those guys. It might have been a little bit different with, Mac Jones and Daniel Wright and the guy in Brian Robinson who came in February, or Xavier McKinney. And it might have been a little bit different with those guys coming in a little bit later for a different portion of the semester. But yeah, I mean, I think each of those guys probably would have signed in December. And I mean, I think it alleviates pressure on the staff and it kind of puts more on them at the same time. So it's kind of both ways.
It rushes it up, but it also gives you a chance if you're trying to close on some guys that if you got half your class locked up, I guess you can go out and get the big fish that hadn't been landed yet. That's Hank South, 24/7 Sports Bama Online recruiting. Hank, let our listeners know how they can stay up on what you guys have going on.
Yeah, if you want to follow us on BamaOnline.com, it's also Alabama247sports.com. We have a free, I think it's buy 1 month, get 3 months free right now. So good time to sign up. Summer camp season's about to start, so it'll be fun. And then you can follow me on Twitter at HankSouth247.
That's at HankSouth247, Bama Online recruiting senior recruiting analyst, Hank South, 24/7 Sports as well. Follow him online at BamaOnline.com. Thanks, Hank. We'll catch up with you next week.
Thanks, Martin.